Zadon Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my final review of My Hero Academia Season 5. And yes, I know I didn't do a review for specifically the last two episodes. And part of the reason was because I was kind of out of it. Last week was rough. Let's just put it that way. But or these past few weeks have been rough. And I've just been, like I said, I've been out of it. But I think that it was important to at least give my final thoughts on this season. And honestly, it's kind of insane, this season in general. They did a lot of aspects that I think could have gotten them into a lot of trouble, and fans were not happy. Like, period. Were you happy about the fact that freaking, for some reason, the villain arc got moved? Were you happy that they cut out some pretty important aspects of the story? I don't think that you were. Like, here's the biggest things that they seemed to cut out were things from the villain arc. And on top of that, cut they didn't cut. They glossed over a lot of the important aspects of well, Shirakumo's backstory, which, yeah, you guys know how I feel about that. Now, I just want to make something clear. I read the Shirakumo backstory after I read about the fact that Kurogiri was Shirakumo. And I regretted it. I wished that I could have seen who this character was. Why is he important? Oh, he's important to Aizawa. Interesting. Oh, fudge. He died? That sucks. That is awful. Just that hurts a lot. It really freaking hurts in Vigilantes when you see Shirakumo's death. But the fact that you find out who he is in My Hero Academia and find out that Kurogiri is this person that had such an impact in Aizawa's life, it's a what the fudge moment. And I do mean the real word, but there's not much you can do about it. It happened. You move on. Oh well, it sucks, but yeah, you have to move on. Now, obviously, there were some certain aspects that were really good about this season. They did an amazing job with each of the fights and showing how each of them went down. The and I think that the important thing for people to realize is that a lot of the arcs of this season were resting arcs. Arcs to calm people down from the events of the Hideout Raid arc to but also to get people prepared for the villain arc, which, let's just be honest, it's one of the best arcs in the manga. And then it was the transitional arc, the Endeavor Agency arc was the transitional arc from My Hero, from what we just saw in Villain Academia to the events of the war arc, which is going to be next season. Which, may I remind you, it's probably not that far away. Like, more than likely, it is going to be in either the winter season or the fall season. Or, not the fall season, the spring season. That's when it's happening. Somewhere either in the winter season or the spring season. Possibly in the winter season, which that is terrifying. The reason I say this is because of the fact that I don't think they're gonna go all the way through the Lone Wolf arc for this season. Like, you can say whatever you will about what they did for this arc, but yeah, I don't think they're going to go all the way through that the Lone Wolf arc. That is one of the so far that is one of the most intense arcs that we've had, and so I don't think they're going to go all the way through that. Not to mention, though, that we are getting very close to the next to the end of the war arc in our actual mangas here in America, which, little note for people, when the manga gets caught up, that is where the season actually starts. And the thing is, I don't think they're gonna. It's complicated. Like, there was a reason I said that more than likely, volume 21, or not 21, whatever that volume was, I think it was like 26 or something. When that came out, I was 100% certain this is when the manga is going to start picking up. This is when the anime is going to start picking up, and we're going to see the anime start up again, because it felt like a good point to transition into the next into the season, and they didn't because of other reasons. And as such, it felt like they had to run forward and get a lot more in there because fans had read more. So, yeah, I feel like they cut out a lot of things, but they also needed to make sure that there was something to announce the movie, but also possibly to hint the people who have been reading Vigilantes, hey, look at this. You see this information about the fact that Uraraka and the other girls are dealing with criminals who are using a certain drug, a drug that was an extremely important aspect of Vigilantes. Yeah, you kind of expect this is going to go a little bit further. The fact is that more than likely, I don't know what happened in the movie because I haven't watched it yet, but more than likely, the third movie deals a lot more with Trigger because the fact that the anime only episode dealt with Trigger, as such, once that comes out over here in America, more than likely we are going to be getting the announcement of Vigilantes coming, as in it will be releasing next season, possibly. I don't know, but it's coming. The fact of the matter remains that season 6 of My Hero Academia is right around the corner. But not only that, Vigilantes is right around the corner. And a lot of people are really, really excited for Vigilantes. Many fans of My Hero Academia, of the manga specifically, have been begging and begging that Vigilantes gets an anime adaptation because that is the only spin-off that has been begged and begged that it gets an anime adaptation because, one, it is absolutely canon. Like, there's no going about this any other way. It is 100% canon because Horikoshi specifically worked alongside the creators Furuhashi and Betancourt to make sure that frickin' Vigilantes had the story of Shirakumo. Not to mention that he worked with them for a lot of these things to make sure that it was getting things ready for the future. And more than likely, we're going to be seeing that a lot more. In fact, I'm pretty sure that more than likely, what is currently happening in the manga is setting up for a huge event of Vigilantes and every hit and the main series to be combined. Not to mention that Team Up Missions is also happening. Like, holy crap. Team Up Missions is probably going to be also, at some point, getting an anime adaptation. It's gonna be a short one, and probably only gonna get one season because it takes place over such a short amount of time, but it's probably going to get a short little season once it's done. And then we're going to see how that all played out. More than likely, there might even be, after normal My Hero Academia ends, a School Briefs anime where they go over everything that happened in School Briefs so that people can understand that all of this stuff also happened. The fact is that those three series are currently are considered canon by Horikoshi. He has worked alongside each of them, and yet no one is talking about them except for the fans who've read this stuff and are excited to see how it plays out. But it might not happen. Season 5 didn't do well. Let's just be honest here. They cut some really important stuff. Believe it or not, all of you anime-only people, if anyone's still watching this by the fact that I've spoiled some things, freaking in the whole villain arc wasn't done the way that it was in the actual anime. It was done through Spinner's point of view. Yeah, Spinner, the character that had no involvement at all this season. It was through his eyes. They kind of overlook him in the series, in the manga, but the point of the matter is that this was supposed to be through his eyes. People were seeing how this character, who seemed of very little importance, saw all of this. How he watched as all of this was happening. How he was dealing with a lot of the troubles that he was dealing with. They only went over one part of how it impacted his life. How he was tormented for a good part of his life by honestly awful jerks. And yet, they just gloss over it. It happened. Cool. Let's move on. That's how they acted. And it sucks. But they don't go over the fact that the vigilantes, or not the vigilantes, the villains actually went around while they were fighting Gigantomachia and fought other crime families. How they fought against a group of people who were honestly complete assholes, who hated people who had quirks that made them look not human. Yeah, that was something that actually happened. It felt like the anime tried to make these villains seem less than human, which the manga did not do. The manga specifically went out of its way to make sure that people understood that these characters, these people, were harmed by by what had made them. Toga, forced to have a blood-sucking quirk, and as such was bullied for it, tormented by it. She went insane because of what had happened to her. Twice was a man who lost his mind because he didn't have anyone he could talk to. He went insane, and his people, the clones that he had made, also went insane, deciding to kill off one another so that, well, they could have the power. And it's, needless to say, awful. It is an awful, awful moment that he had to go through. Even Shigaraki, which they went over a good amount of his story, which is fine. But that is the thing that they went over. That was the point of the villain arc. It wasn't meant to be this short arc that you would gloss over. It was meant to tell these people's stories, what they had been through, and why Shigaraki would choose seeing his friends who had suffered through so much and why he would choose to get help from someone, from anyone else. That is the point of this series. That is the point of the villain arc, but it feels like they glossed over it all in favor of combat. Make this a good shoot, go, fight, all that stuff. And oh my gosh, it's disappointing to say the least. But that wasn't the only thing that was disappointing. Believe it or not, I was disappointed by the Christmas special. Yeah, I was disappointed by that masterpiece. Like, it is so short. And it's just like, why is this short? Believe it or not, in the manga, they sing. They sing as a class together to celebrate Christmas. They don't do that in the anime. In the manga, absolutely, they sing together. And sure, the Christmas song was amazing, and I loved it, and it's now on my Christmas playlist, but the fact remains that it kind of glosses over a lot of this stuff. The point of that episode was to show how the different groups had grown, and how they had grown to become better people, how they had worked together, how they had, well, become a family. And honestly, it just felt like they glossed over this. They made it into a clip show, which is, needless to say, a bit disappointing. Sure, it's kind of like that in the manga, but not to the same degree. It was one chapter in the manga, so of course it wouldn't be that long, but at the same time, it's like, could it please be a bit longer? Just a little bit. And they decided not to. And that was for the final episode. I do need to bring this up because it went too fast. Just plain and simple. That felt like it should have been a full-fledged episode to get people reintroduced to the characters. The fact is that it's very synonymous with a lot of the anime-only episodes that we've seen thus far. Each season has had a episode where they would show off all of the characters and reintroduce us to them. That was kind of what that chapter was. Reintroducing us, letting us see how each of these characters have grown, and yet they put it at the end of the season rather than at the beginning. I think that they could have really done something really good with it and maybe expanded on it a bit. But instead they went quickly, got it over and done with. Let's get it out. Go. We have to get ready for the next season. We have freaking the war arc to get ready for, because the war arc is insane, and it actually is really insane. Like, seriously, if you guys haven't read any of that yet, be prepared, because Volume 29, Bakugo dies at the end. I'm kidding. Bakugo doesn't die. But it looks like he's about to die. If you haven't read Volume 29, if you haven't read what's after Volume 29, you may very well think, holy shit, Bakugo died. And I reviewed that chapter as it came out. So you guys know how I reacted. If you guys have been around for that long. But here we are. Oh, the manga is out, and it's time to move on. That's basically how it feels right now. But things are going to be getting more and more intense as we continue towards the rest of this series. And perhaps Season 6 will be the final season. If they choose to wait, and I mean wait, until, well, the manga actually finishes, they just might. And I do mean they just might. The fact is that back when Season 5 came out, almost everything that happened this season had already been out. That I'm not 100% certain exactly, but yeah, everything that happened this season was out in some format. pretty much. Like, maybe like a few of the last few chapters weren't, but the fact is that we were already starting the war arc if you were reading in Japan or you were reading on Viz or whatever. You already knew that things were going to get even more intense, and they did. So it remains to be seen how they're going to handle this moving forward. Are they going to wait until the season is actually done, or are they going to release, or the series is actually done, or are they going to release it ASAP? Get it out there, get people ready, have the war arc be the only part of the actual episode or season, or are they going to wait until the Lone Wolf arc is completely done? Remains to be seen. I, for one, am super excited to see how they decide to go about with this, along with getting really excited to see how the remaining seasons will continue. Because this story is not done, not by a long shot, and I, for one, am really excited. Because this season may have flopped, but the next one's definitely not. It's not as bad as the season that doesn't exist of Promised Neverland. But we'll all have to wait and see as we get ready for the next season, the next movie, and perhaps some new series popping up right around the corner. Like I said, I think that Vigilantes is coming out just a few weeks from now, or months from now, as we get ready for the next season of anime, the winter season. And of course, yes, we are currently entering the fall season, but things are just getting started. But anyways, guys, hopefully you guys have all enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. Of course, if you do have a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in your comment. And of course, make sure to head down to the description and check out all of our links down there, including our social medias, our other channels, and ways you can support us financially, including the merch store, the book, and of course our Patreon, which a big thank you to our current patrons, Sheeny and Joseph. Like I said, huge thank you to both of you. And of course, if you guys haven't checked out the songs yet, definitely make sure to also head down to the description and check out our songs on Spotify, which hopefully there's a new album, or I guess single. I don't know what they are actually going to call it by this, but there's two new songs that are coming out really soon, so definitely make sure to check that out. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!